I've been teaching film for over 10 years, and most of that has been with Houston Community College, which has a fantastic film program that's a workforce program designed to get people into jobs. And so this is my back to school special for anybody who is thinking about going to film school or is interested uh, in potentially doing it. Anybody who is going in as a student, either returning student, you may have already gotten a year or two under your belt. Film school is not for everybody, nor is it necessary. But I went to film school. I'm an advocate for film school. Obviously, I teach at a film school, and there are great benefits for going to film school. So here's my back to school special for anybody going into classes because there are a lot of things that I see students coming into the program where there become frustrations on both sides. Like students get frustrated and teachers get frustrated. And so I think that there are some things in terms of the expectations that are important to think about when you go to film school. So, film school is great for these reasons. It is a concentrated place where you can get a education in film. And typically, what most film schools do, it's certainly what we do at our program, it's what we did at USC, where I did my film school. And, I've researched other film programs. Most film programs have this particular philosophy that you need to understand all the departments before you specialize. So that means you need to understand writing, producing, directing, cinematography, editing, and sound. So if you're a writer who just wants to be a writer, you're going to have to do some cinematography and grip work or editing and sound. Editing and writing are actually really important, I think, to go together. And there are other reasons for why I think it's a benefit to understand the entire process, but it's not for everybody. And there are programs that are specialized for particular roles like screenwriting, directing, cinematography, editing. AFI has very specific programs. So again, there are different programs that might suit your needs, but most film schools have this understanding and approach it programmatically that you need to understand all those roles in order to then specialize. So if you're like dreaming that you want to be a cinematographer and that's the only thing you're interested in doing, and you can't possibly fathom taking a writing class, or you suck at writing, or you struggle with it, again, these are things to think about. Film school might not be for you. So that education is there, and that education is also voted on and decided upon by the program and often by state curriculum or different programmatic educational things that happen on a bureaucratic level. So there might be things in the classes that you're taking, like for example, I get this a lot when I'm teaching directing, where students want to come in and they want to be directors. And then I have very specific assignments that I and the program have created to teach the principles of directing that have very specific boundaries to them. You can't just go off and make, whatever you want. You have to kind of stick within the guidelines. And it is true that I've often gotten students who come in and give me this piece of work that might be wonderful in many ways as a short film or piece of media, but doesn't follow any of the assignment rules. And then I'm kind of stuck in this situation where do I fail the project because they didn't follow the rubric and the instructions, or not, because what they delivered was really wonderful. And so these are dilemmas that, like I said, create frustrations on both sides, students and teachers. And so again, film school is still school. There are still assignments. Those assignments have instructions and a rubric on how they're graded. And it's important to you as a student to follow those instructions if you want to get a good grade. And the reason why this is important beyond the school level is that teachers are also filmmakers too. And we also get approached for referrals, like, hey, do you know any great students out there that we can um, that we need as interns or production assistants or for jobs. We get asked for student referrals for jobs all the time. And if you're a student that does not follow the instructions that I give you in a project, I have no confidence that you're going to follow instructions on a job, right? Because when you get hired onto set, especially as a PA, you're not there to do whatever you want. You're not taking over the project. You're there to follow directions and do whatever is asked of you and, be helpful in terms of the project. So again, the curriculum that is created, the assignments that you will be tasked to do, have reason behind it. They are there to teach you certain principles and to teach you certain concepts that will help you in the long run for that particular discipline. So even though film school might be your chance to finally get your hands on a camera or finally get your hands on something, and be able to work with uh, equipment or other people and realize your vision, it is still school. So that's something that I think is important to understand. And then, as I said, beyond that, don't treat it like homework. Like, oh my God, I have to write this script and how awful it is. And oh, it's not like, a paper on history or something that you dread writing or math homework. Like this homework is here to teach you things for the job that you want and for the passion that you have for this project. So hopefully everything is just a learning and insight into something that you already love. And if you treat it as homework, again, there's a level of respect there to the work. And also, if you treat teachers as just kind of teachers, then you're missing an element that's really important. And really, I think one of the most important aspects beyond the education that film school provides, which is a huge networking opportunity. You've got all these people in a room that are your peers. They are going to be going on to jobs themselves. They will be asked for references for jobs of, hey, do you know anybody else in this role or that or whatever? So as you network among your peers, those are the people that are going to help you get jobs in the future. And like I said, your teachers are also going to be potential people that can get you jobs. And I, as a teacher, look at my students as future collaborators. And I have worked with many of my former students on projects, and on every project that I have, I always bring current students on to get experience onto my projects. So this is it's not the same as a general math class or English class. This is something that is relationship building for future work. And so when you treat school and like homework and oh my God, it's awful and how am I going to get this done? You're missing out on this opportunity to really build your network and build these relationships that will help you in the long run. Because the number one thing with following directions and showing up on time for class and engaging and asking questions and being a participant in your classes is that I see as an instructor that you are showing up for yourself, you're showing up for me, and you're showing up for your peers. And those things, following directions, showing up on time, engaging, those are the things, the qualities that I look for when I recommend students for jobs. The people who are late to class or don't show up to class but turn in amazing work, it's too unpredictable. I can't in good conscience recommend you for work with local production companies because I my experience with you is that you don't show up, you know? You might provide great work, but you don't show up. So if you ask for a reference, if people ask me for referrals and you might be doing work that's in line with it, if you're not showing up, I don't feel very comfortable making those recommendations. So the networking aspect, the way that you show up for yourself in school does represent and reflect how you're going to show up on the job. So again, don't treat film school like school. So that's a really important aspect. And then ultimately, you're also getting more experience, and that will help you grow in confidence, and you will get to see where your strengths and weaknesses. And one of the fun things that I see in my, I experienced it myself, and I see it in students all the time who will take a class that they don't necessarily think that they're good in and then totally blossom in it and discover a new passion and a new avenue because filmmaking is hard and the career is hard and there is no linear path to making your way up the ladder. And so sometimes having discovered another talent is a great way to kind of zig and zag into a career over time. Because if you really want to be a cinematographer, but you're also really great at sound, you can kind of like piggyback off of that and like do a camera department job. And then maybe the camera department on the next project is full, but they know you also do sound, so you can go into sound, things like that. Because again, it's a relational industry. And so those kinds of referrals and job recommendations and bringing you on to the next project is what's important. So those are things that I think getting more experience under your belt, that for me was the best thing about film school was I didn't want to fail on the job. I wanted to have a better understanding and a better sense of what I could contribute. And so film school gave me that foundation where I could experiment and fail in kind of a safe environment where a job wasn't on the line, and then build that confidence up to the point where then I could take that into professional projects. And last but not least, don't forget that your teachers are human too. We have bad days, we forget about things. Sometimes we're wrong. I have discovered over the course of 10 years, there are things that I thought about some of the technical aspects of filmmaking that were incorrect, or I just didn't know. I just didn't know the answer to some of these questions. And so I have learned along the way as a teacher as well. And so again, the more you treat us as people and future collaborators, the more we can build a relationship that can help you with your career moving forward. That being said, just because I'm your teacher does not necessarily mean that I'm going to become part of every project that you're going to be working on because I have my own projects that I'm trying to develop. So I'm here as a teacher to help you learn the tools for your projects and to gain that confidence and to move up. But that does not necessarily mean that I will then become your producer, say, or things like that. And so sometimes I'll see that where students will want to help, will want to collaborate on their project, and I just don't have time because in addition to teaching, I'm also working on my own projects. And so it can be a little bit complicated that way. Good luck on this new semester.